Welcome to the Rugby Bricks 10 Pillars of Goal Kicking organisational session. So we're going to organise your goal kicking technique today. We're going to get it down all on paper or on your phone in a Google spreadsheet, however you want to set it up, but we need to capture that detail. The reason why this is such an important process is as soon as we've got our details down, then we've got the ability to change our thinking. We've got the ability to test things out and trial things. When we have a conversation with a coach or anyone who wants to talk to us about our goal kicking, we've got such a good understanding of what we do, how we do it, why we do it, and some of the key reasons behind all of those details. So today, I really encourage you, whenever I say pause the video, take the time to go away, type down those details, write them down. We're going to go through two ways of doing this. We're going to do a draft copy first. So this first time we go through, it's going to be every detail, everything that we're thinking about, and then we'll clean it up at the end. We'll narrow it down to 2 or 3 points on each of the pillars. But for the start, as we go through, I just want you to write down everything that you're thinking, everything that's in your head, get it down on paper, make sure that it's documented in your phone, but just really take the time to pause the video and go through it. Don't just watch the whole thing and then try to catch it up and do all it at once. Take the time as we talk through each of these pillars to get your detail down and become really confident. That's where we want to get to, is have a rock solid bulletproof kicking technique based off the 10 pillars of goal kicking that you can always come back to. Before we get started, we do have the 10 pillar of goal kicking journal. This isn't a sell, but what I'm saying is this book here has got your session plans. It's got the 10 pillars in it. After every 50 kicking sessions, it's got a 10 pillar page where you can update it and just see where you're at with your goal kicking technique. Again, once you've got something established, it's really easy to tweak and make changes, and you understand your why behind your kicking technique. There's more details on this on the website. There's a full video showing all the different pages and what's inside this journal. But if you really are serious about your kicking, you want to grab a journal, I would highly recommend grabbing one from the website. You don't need it. You can just have it on a page of paper or any journal that you've got already. But let's jump straight into the 10 pillars of goal kicking. Again, we're going to start off with pillar number 1, which is mindset. How I want you to set this up is at the top of your page, wherever you are, just write down pillar number 1, mindset, leave heaps of space because you're going to put a lot of detail in here and different thoughts. Now, mindset is something that I don't usually start with kickers, but it's really good just to have a small little action plan, but you've also got to be ready to go down the mindset. We're talking sports psychology and pressure principles, all those things that we quite often hear about mindset. A couple of really good tactical things that I think can really help set us up to be successful. For me personally, it was about 60%. So whatever was happening in the game, pressure, time on the clock, the stage, the pressure of this moment, I had to get myself to 60%, just feeling 60%, heart rate, breathing. 60% was just a nice number for me. So whether I'd just gone for a massive run or made a few tackles and my heart rate and pressure and how I was feeling and excitement levels were through the roof, calm it down, Pete, get back to 60%, be nice, cool and calm. The opposite might have just started, it might be cold, I might be a little bit too relaxed and I haven't done anything yet. So I needed to get myself up to 60% because I think you really, with your goal kicking, want to be deliberate. You don't just want to be flowy and not put too much thought into it. You want to be confident and deliberate and put the ball exactly where you want. So I had to be at 60% to do that. Another great example I love sharing is Lima Sopawanga. So before each of his kicks, he'd have a look at someone in the crowd. He'd say, that person has got on a blue Adidas top. And that just got him into process thinking. So you'll hear me talk a lot through this about getting into your process. That's where safety is. That's where you can get into those tasks and achieve tasks at 100%. And that's how you get that nice positive snowball. So he did that. At every ground, you'll be able to find someone, identify that. It also just takes you out. It takes your brain away from all those things that you're feeling about pressure or got to make this kick or you're playing a game of professional rugby. It's really nice to kind of get your brain out of that, get into process thinking and calm yourself down. Another one that I really love from Richie Mwanga, he probably still does this, is his kick doesn't start, his process doesn't start until he's been given the kicking tee. So he can laugh, he can celebrate, he can be disappointed, he can be frustrated, he can talk to the ref, but as soon as he touches that kicking tee from the person running the water bottle and the kicking tee out, as soon as he's grabbed that kicking tee, process starts, and now you can't disrupt him. He's into kicking mode and he's into process thinking. So those are 3 examples. Whether you wipe your boot, you squirt water on your face, you look around, you talk to a teammate, But your mindset is something, this is the starting point of when it comes to sports psychology, is you can have something that you know works, you know is your safe place, you know is a nice little start to this whole process thinking, which is pillar number one. So what I want you to do now is press pause on this video. I want you to write down a couple of ideas. If you've never tried anything, maybe something you could try. I always used to wipe my boot as well, which was to help me park kicks. We'll get to that at the end. But just something physical or something that you can do that you want to trial out. Maybe one of those examples that you can use for your own kicking game. Write something down. If you're already using something, get that down in detail, exactly what you've done. Maybe a time where it really did work as well. But take about 2 to 5 minutes right now to write down your details when it comes to mindset. Pause this video now. I hope you enjoyed working through some of that mindset stuff. Such a crucial tool and a way to take your game to the next level right across rugby, not just goal kicking. Pillar number two, we're going to get into ball setup, which I think is the most important starting point for the whole kick. It's where success can happen and a task that we can do it 100%. Now for all these pillars, there is a great video on YouTube that I put together. It's going through the 10 pillars of goal kicking and explaining what they are technically on the field. It is very generic, but it does explain each of the pillars, and in this, it does explain a lot of different ball setups and why you can do them, what you can achieve. The thing that we're trying to get with our ball setup is we want to get a nice strike that is consistent, that we can really trust and enjoy. Your goal kicking sessions don't need to be hard. They don't need to be frustrating because of your ball strike. So however you strike the ball well is how you should be setting your ball up on your tee. So if you're using, let's just use an example. If you're using a low kicking tee where you're constantly scuffing the ground and getting ugly ball flights, then you put it on something like the mid cut and you're kicking the ball well every 10 out of 10 kicks, at least you're striking the ball well. I would lean towards using a mid cut and enjoying your session and making that more consistent. On the flip side, if you're hating a high tee, you're undercutting, you're getting heaps of backspin, you might have had a soccer or a football upbringing, you love that low to the ground strike, go with that. Enjoy your kicking sessions and have a tee that you are consistent with. We're all different. We've all got different bodies, shapes, legs, and ways that we do it. You want to enjoy your kicking sessions and be consistent. Now those balls, you can see one in the background there. It's got seams, it's got valves, different ball heights, angles of placement. Play around with that, look into it. I explain a few reasons why in the pillar number 2 on YouTube, where you can have a look at as well. But just make sure that your detail is so detailed. I use this kicking tee, it's this height. Have the mils on how your kicking tee is. I set my seams up this way. I have the Gilbert logo, whatever brand of ball you like using or are currently playing with. I have this panel facing me. I have the ball slightly tilted. Anything that you do with your ball setup, whether you put your heel on the ground to have the back of the tee slightly lower so that you get your unique ball setup. All those little details need to be in your diary, and I want you to pause this video now and write down exactly how you set the ball up. Again, be really diligent, put all the details in there that you know about your ball setup, and you'll be able to play around with it. Okay, hit pause now. Pillar number 3 is your long target. And I use the word long because I want you to have something through the post in the distance that is your long target. A funny thing that happens is we stand behind the ball, we check our ball alignment and make sure that we're happy with the setup, and then we go out to the side wherever our approach takes us to, and the target is slightly different. So make sure that once you've set your ball up on your tee, you take a few steps back or whatever your process is to ball check. You check your ball, you're happy with it, but just know when it is that you lock in your target. So whether you lock in your target from when you go directly backwards and are looking at the back of the ball and through the post, if you lock your target in then, make sure that that's consistent. If you go out to the side and get ready for your kick, so you're coming in on your angle and then you find your target, just know exactly when you're going to find your target to lock in, because it does change as soon as we take those steps to the side. It does change what we're doing. Now, really important for me, I don't like moving targets. I don't pick someone or a touch judge because they might move on you, or a water boy. I don't like clouds in the sky. Also don't like picking someone in the crowd because what if they move and get up? I don't like moving targets. So I prefer something through the post 20 and 30 meters, whether it's signage, whether it's a pole, a tree, a bush, something permanent It's really important to pick the line. Now, I'm all about picking the line of your target. So just like a golfer commits a line that they want to start the ball on, whether it's ball flight and fly the ball back to the green with a nice draw, I want us to do the same, because as soon as we commit to that line, our ball setup is committed to that line, our body, our hips, our foot in the follow through, our body in the follow through, momentum, everything commits to that line, and then ball flight takes care of itself. So if I've got a massive wind coming from my right to the left, it's going to move the ball at least 10 meters. It's blowing an absolute gale. I need to commit to a target out here. So let's say this poster of Reese Hodge. That's where my whole focus is going. My foot, my momentum, my strike, my follow through. I'm going at Reese. Yes, the ball might end up over here and go through the post, but I need to fully commit to that poster, and that's what our target needs to be for us. So again, I want you to pause this video and write down exactly what your target is, what you look for, and when you choose your target. Pillar number 4 is your approach. So many unique and iconic approaches that we've seen. I think about Dan Carter, Johnny Wilkinson, Percy Montgomery, a couple of really uniques. Mornay Stain was a favourite for me at how simple it was. There's a few really cool kickers at the moment. I love Owen Farrell and how simple he is, Johnny Sexton. There's some really quality kickers out there. Dan Carter was extremely unique with the footwork that he did before his kick. So your approach is the steps back from the ball and the steps out to the side. Now, how you get to your spot, I'm not too concerned. It just has to be consistent. So when you're writing down your detail, don't just say 4 steps back, 3 to the left. I want you to talk about the energy of your step, how quickly that you're taking your step, whether they're relaxed, whether they're big, whether they're mediums, whether they're slow and composed. Because if you get excited and you're at the start of the game, you're all pumped up, you've had some caffeine, you're fired up, and you take big excited steps back, too fast, too quick, you're going to be so far away from the ball than what you usually are at a relaxed training session, and that's really inconsistent. Same with the steps out to the side, to making sure that you're taking them a unique way. If you've got a unique sort of twist or thing you're doing with your body, have a think about also when you're at the back of the mark, what position you're in. Where are your feet angled? What are your hips and your knees and your chest and your head? Where are they aiming? In the video on YouTube, the 10 pillars, I talk about a starting point for kickers, making sure that their feet, hips, their chest, their body, their head is all directly at the back of the ball, because from there we can tweak it. We may find that we feel a little bit better having an angle, and that feels more natural and more rhythm to our kicking technique. So those are all things that you can bring in, but again, details that you need to have. Now, your first step is the most important on your approach. Whether it's going backwards into a forward step, or you're just taking your forward step, a side step, wherever that step goes, that is the key. How big it is, how excited it is, whether it's small and slow. I would encourage you to video yourself and just have some detail around your first 1 and 2 steps. Why is that important? If our first step is inconsistent, that is going to have us landing with our plant foot in completely different areas, too close to the ball, too excited, too far past the ball, crowding ourselves. It is so important that your approach part of your kick is really detailed and you have so much care for exactly what you're doing. Okay, let's pause the video, have a think about some kickers you love, watch a couple of other different approaches. If you're totally confused, get to 45 degree, watch that video on YouTube where I talk through a couple of visual examples, but we have to start somewhere. We have to have our detail that we make really consistent. Pause the video and write down your detail. Here we go, now we're getting into pillar number 5, which is rodeo arm. So I came up with the name rodeo arm because, one, it looks like a rodeo arm. We're using our big upper body to get it nice and tall. It keeps our upper body big and strong, where we have good hip power, and we're actually using our upper body to put energy through the back of the ball. We've got these amazing interior oblique slings that connected our body, and if we use our rodeo arm, we can put a lot more power in, and kickers that struggle with that, as soon as they clean up their rodeo arm, they can understand their detail. Again, highly recommend checking out that pillar. You'll be able to see where the position that I want you to get your rodeo into pre-impact, at the time of impact and post impact. So with your detail, those are the 3 areas that I need you to look at. Now, that's just how my rodeo arm worked in the video example. I like to get it up nice and tall and straight on a 45-degree angle. At the time of impact, I'm lined up with my target, and then it goes across my body parallel to the ground. Those are my 3 pre, time of impact, and post impact rodeo arm, exactly what it's doing. So if you're not too sure what you do, video yourself, and again, just have a look at exactly those moments. So in your full backswing, the biggest that you are before you start coming in to kick the ball, where's your rodeo arm? At the time of impact, where's your rodeo arm? And post impact, so once your kicking foot's at its highest point, whereabouts is your rodeo arm? So those are the 3 things that I want you to write down now. If you're not too sure, have a guess, or you may have to video yourself and come back to this later, but I want you to write down, again, I'll give you those 3. So pre, time of impact, and post impact. Whereabouts are your rodeo arms? Hit pause and get that detail down. Pillar number 6 is your plant foot. For years it was coached that your plant foot has to line up with exactly where you're aiming, and it has to be in the midline of the ball. There is no other way of kicking. Your plant foot has to land in that position. That's incorrect. I started watching professional kickers and working with kickers, and I started to notice that plant foots are so inconsistent with where they are landing. And it's so unique. Now that we have higher and taller tees, our plant foot sometimes is landing behind the ball. We feel like we're in a stronger position being a little bit behind the ball. Think about your big, tall kickers. You got Geordie Barrett, Reece Hodge, guys that are bigger and stronger using high tees. They prefer to have their plant foot landing a little bit behind the ball and on a slight angle in towards the ball. We've got this human body which is so unique, ball and socket, muscles, funny shapes. We're so unique. We're not a perfect golf club that's made out of metal. So we need to put our body in the best position where we feel strong, where we hit the ball exactly how we want to hit the ball, and that's where your plant foot needs to be landing. Now, some words of advice. Yes, you don't want to be too close to the ball, you don't want to be too far away, you don't want to be dropping your plant foot behind, but again, have a look at your technique. What are we chasing? We're chasing a nice strike that makes it really enjoyable, something that we can make consistent. So if you're using a low kicking tee, you're probably going to be a little bit more closer to the midline with your plant foot. So your midline of your foot is lining up with the ball. If you're using a higher tee, you might be slightly behind. But it's really important that you know exactly when you're kicking the ball well, this is how my plant foot lands. The other thing too is the 30-degree rule. So if that's my plant foot, I'm aiming towards you guys in the camera, and this is the ball, I can have my plant foot land between anywhere from straight to 30 degrees. So anywhere in there I'm happy with. Reason is if we get past that 30 degrees, we start blocking the ball and things stay right. The other thing too is if we get too open, then we swing our leg and we get a little bit too much hook. So for me, anywhere between straight and 30 degrees is happy days. Most professional kickers are on about 30 degrees when you have a look at their plant foot. So again, have a look at your videos, write down your detail. Where does your plant foot land? I want you to pause and write down your detail right now. Now we're going to talk about your kicking foot. How are you striking the ball? How do you want to make contact? The other thing too that I think is worth mentioning, if you want to use images and pictures and put things in a book or take screenshots, have that in your 10 pillars of goal kicking as well, so that you can associate videos or images with your kicking foot or any of the other pillars. So for me, with my ball setup, so I used to tee like the mid cut. I wanted to be up the back of the ball, so near the base of the ball where the cross is, because I was leaning the ball forward, and I wanted to be slightly on the inside of the ball. So that was my strike with my big hard foot knuckle. That's the position that I wanted to get into. Why was that? I wanted to create a small little draw, so a right to left, not a big one. The ball would only move about 2 meters off a straight line, but I always wanted to create that draw, so I felt like I was in control of the ball. So for me, my detail of my kicking foot was that I wanted to make contact with the ball with a hard foot slightly just on the inside of the ball to create that flight. So that was what I was trying to achieve. Again, you want to be locked up, you want to be hard, you want to have a big strong foot that you're kicking the ball with. So again, I want you to hit pause and put down the exact strike that you're after. Now if you're using a low kicking tee, your foot's in slightly different position. So you want to put down the detail of, in this position, I want to be hitting this part of my foot, even draw little images in the strike that you want on your ball based on your ball setup. So get that detail down now, hit pause and write down exactly the detail you want for your kicking foot. Pillar number 8 is the one that comes up mostly. How can I get more power? How can I get more distance in my kick? And it comes down to your foot and your hip position. If I was to sit you on a seat and I say, kick the ball as far as you can from this seat, you wouldn't have the same power that you could as if you were standing on the field normally. That's because you're not getting any energy from your hips. You're not big and strong. I want you to think about a guy like Owen Farrell. When we watch him kick, he's big and tall and he's really strong through that kicking motion, and you can see that he's getting access to his hips and his core, and he's using all that strength behind the ball. So if we're really collapsing and getting small, we're missing out on that big strong hip power. The best exercise that I compare it to is when you get the barbell in the gym and you're doing hip thrusts. So when we're seeing that, we're seeing those big strong hips, and that's that power that we're trying to access at the time of impact. When it comes to the foot and the hips talking to each other, we don't want to be dragging the ball. So if I was to get you to set up your plant foot and put it well in front of the ball, so we're talking half a meter, you'd be trying to drag the ball from behind yourself and not be able to get in a really strong position to make impact with the ball. It'd be really ugly, it would feel awful. So that's why linking up the plant foot with our hips and our foot to be in a really strong position is really crucial to making a really good strike in contact with the ball. So how do you put this down? How do you put this into detail? So for me, it was stay tall and trust my timing. That was all this pillar meant to me. And that was the cue of, as I'm coming into the ball, don't get too hunched, don't collapse into that kicking tee. Sometimes it acts like a magnet and it draws us in and makes us really small. I always would tell myself, stay tall, trust my timing, and you'll probably hear me say it a lot in the content that we put out as well. So I want you to have a look on your video or think about the feeling of the time that you're getting to the ball and have a look at how your rodeo arm is helping this, and just jot down a few details on, are your foot and your hips in a really strong and powerful position? In the follow through, are you really collapsing? Just talk a little about your hip and your foot power, where it's coming from in the position that you're getting into. Jot down a few ideas now. Pillar number 9, momentum. For me, winning momentum is the half meter pre-ball and the half meter post-ball. We can all do the first part really easy. We just need to get into the ball and make contact. We've pretty much won momentum, but it isn't that simple. You have to think about building up. So like an airplane taking off, I'm sure you've been coached or heard that before. We want to build momentum, and when we're getting into that last stride before our plant foot's landing, we want to feel like we've got momentum going to the ball. That's how we get those big strikes. Now, how you win momentum post-impact with the ball comes down to your technique. There's 3 ways, there's 3 different techniques from what I've seen where kickers use. They use the hop technique, Owen Farrell. They use the foot down technique, so Johnny Sexton, or they use the hurdle style, which sometimes we see long-range kicker like Geordie Barrett using, where they hit ball, they launch themselves off the ground. It's like an American football kickoff style where they fully commit to the kick and launch off the ground. It's not as accurate. It doesn't have that same sort of consistency that we can build and work on rep-wise, but it is still another technique. So how do we win that momentum? How do we get forward? Now, sometimes when it comes to kicking, we make impact and we might pull out, we might be off balance, or we really hop out to the left. That's not winning that half meter post impact with the ball. So we have to have the ability, whether we're using the hop technique or the foot down technique, to win the half meter post impact with the ball. So I want you to talk about how you do that, how your body looks, how it feels, the exact technique that you use. Whether you hop forward, you might do a small little hop out 30 degrees. When I wasn't kicking too well, I'd always be hopping too far left. So instead of it being forward or 30 degrees, I'd be pulling out to about 45 degrees or out to the left, losing power, losing energy going forward. So just want to put some detail around your momentum. Think about the feeling into the ball and then how you win momentum in that half meter post ball. Hit pause, jot down some ideas about momentum. Pillar number 10 is stay in the kick, and it might help with that pillar that you just got through, pillar number 9. So One of the ways that I really helped my momentum was thinking about my kicking foot. So if I stayed in the kick and thought about getting through and touching the crossbar, if it was a straight kick with no wind factors, if I could touch my right channel target, which was the crossbar, 1 meter in from the right upright, touch that with my kicking foot with a big hard foot, that would allow me to get through the ball and really reach forward and get my kicking leg going towards target. So that helped me. That was a really good cue for me to win momentum, because if I did that, I was staying in the kick and I was doing that job well. Now, stay in the kick is a progression from keep your head down. The reason why I went away from keep your head down is I feel like it compresses you. So we spoke about hip power and all those really good cues about staying tall, rodeo arm, using your strength and full body to kick the ball. So stay in the kick is, you know, when you're vacuuming and your brother or sister or someone pulls the cord out of the wall and all the power switches off. So if we just hit the ball and then stop, all the power goes out of the kick. So our follow through, our hip power, our momentum, our body through the ball, all that stops. It's just like the vacuum and the cord getting pulled out of the wall. So staying in the kick for that half meter, staying involved, not letting those eyes come up. As soon as those eyes come up, power switches off and we lose it. Our foot doesn't stay hard, our body doesn't go forward, we're switching off the power. So that's why stay in the kick was a big one for me. And the other thing with stay in the kick is it means that you're trusting all those pillars before. If I switch out early, I'm not trusting my approach, my ball setup, my strike, all the things that I'm doing well, I'm not trusting because I'm switching things off. Whereas because I've nailed all those processes, I'm in the exact position that I need to be. My ball's pretty, my target's great, I know my detail. I can stay in the kick. I don't need to check it. I can stay in the kick and stay really confident. So I want you to have a look at developing a way or a message that you tell yourself, which is part of your routine of how am I going to have the ability to finish the job and stay in the kick. There's so many different examples on other sports, thinking about basketball and shooters not finishing with a nice follow through. Any cricket shot where you're off balance, golf shot, not finishing and staying down through the ball. Goal kicking is the exact same. The technique and the motion needs to be finished. We have to finish the job so that we can become really successful goal kickers and lift our consistency. So write down a couple of details about how, what are the tactics and ways you're going to stay in the kick. Now you can film yourself and look for this. Have 5 kicks, stay in the kick, don't even look at it, and then you can film it and judge the kick and look back on it there. You don't have to watch the ball every kick, you can do it on feel and judge it for yourself. So let's pause the video now and have a think about, jot down a few ideas on how you're going to stay in the kick better. To finish up, we are going to put down pillar number 11, which is parking kicks, and all the good Rugby Bricks kickers out there know about pillar number 11, and it's kind of how I know whether you're a true Rugby Bricks fan, is because if I ask you what is pillar number 11, the real goal kickers know, and they're always able to tell me. So it's a cool little thing. Now you know about pillar number 11, and it's parking kicks. So part of being a goal kicker is missing kicks and becoming extremely disappointed. There's not one kicker that you could introduce me to that hasn't gone through a game, had a moment, had a shocker, and missed a game-winning kick, or maybe kicked none of their goals, and it was like we can always look back on a game where we're so disappointed, and it might have been a turning point. And I think it's really refreshing, because what it's telling you is you're not good enough yet, you haven't put in enough work, and you're not consistent. But once we get consistent, we need a way that we put the ball on the tee, we might be 2 from 3, and we miss another kick, and we have to have the ability to go, okay, I've missed another kick, why? So that's really important, and how am I going to park this? Because remember, you're a rugby player and then a rugby kicker. The best players, the professional players, are still carving up, they're making line breaks, they're scoring tries, they're putting players in gaps, they're doing all those core roles. So you need a way to get back into that, because your coaches, selectors aren't going to be happy as soon as you miss a kick if your game goes out the window as well. So for me, I'll give you my examples of why. I had 3 reasons why I missed. So my first step was too quick. I got too excited and flew in at the ball. And the second one was that momentum thing. So I came up too early, I shot out to the left, and I just didn't win that stay in the kick sort of feeling. I also, part of that was that stay tall, trust my timing, so come and win. But those two were the two technical ones. And the third one was Peter. So Peter didn't read that kick well enough. So I didn't quite judge the wind, or I just made an error in the read, and I could live with that because I still struck the ball well, I kicked it well, I put it exactly where it was. The wind didn't take it how I thought I would. Peter made that error. So 1, 2, 3. Then I could jog back. I'd jog back and think about that. As soon as I got back to receive the kickoff, I'd take a split second to bend down and wipe my boot, and then that kick was gone because I knew the fix. I knew exactly how I could change it for the next kick, and I knew that I could live with it. Whereas if I hadn't gone through that process, I'd just be stewing and annoyed and frustrated, and I don't know what I'm doing, and get annoyed. So you need a little tactic to park your kicks. So now I want you to write down pillar number 11, parking kicks. The example is that you're 2 from 4, you've just missed that fourth one. How are you going to deal with it? What are the things that you'll look for? What are the trends currently that you're struggling with? If you're not sure, that's fine, but I just want you to come up with a way of, if you're disappointed, how are you going to park it? You're going to squirt water on your face, you're going to talk to a teammate, you're going to rub your face, you're going to wipe your boot. Just a way that can get you back into, okay, that kick's done. For the next 5 minutes of playing rugby before my next kick, I have to get myself back ready to go and contribute to the team. So again, pillar number 11, the one that all Rugby Bricks kickers know about if they are true Rugby Bricks supporters. Pillar number 11, parking kicks. Write down a few tactics and something that you want to try out in your kicking sessions and then take into games. Thanks for getting through the 10 pillars, a really crucial process for me and something that really organised my technique, and I'm so thankful for. I was able to become a much more confident kicker. I do just want to say again about the 10 pillars diary. I did just want to show you a couple of pages. So we have got field maps, places to enter in your sessions, and also after every 50 sessions, those are the 10 pillars there that you can go through, jot down, and just get all your details in the book. So each of the pillars are in there. This here is pillar number 3, long target. You can see that it's explained, and just a really cool book. If you are wanting to get one, that's great. You don't have to get a 10 pillars kicking journal, but I think it's just a good way. It's organised. It's why I wanted to build it. Thanks so much for getting through this. Please reach out. I'd love to help you now that you've got through this process, if you've got any further questions. But yeah, well done on getting through this. Well done on becoming really passionate. I think sometimes we need to give ourselves a green light to become really obsessed with something, and I don't regret any of the sessions and how obsessed I was with goal kicking, because I can always look back and be extremely proud of the effort that I put into the skill and into the task. And you learn a lot about yourself with goal kicking, a lot of late nights, a lot of sessions by yourself. And for me, I still go for kicks now, even though I'm not playing, because I just love the skill. It's almost like my golf. I find it so relaxing and almost like meditation. So enjoy that. I'd love to help. Please ask your questions. Contact us at Rugby Bricks, and yeah, we can really help you with your Rugby Bricks journey and goal kicking. But thanks so much for your support. Please sing out. We'll talk soon.